Hi, this is Piero San Giorgio. I have been tagged by Varg Virkines on the Roll4 initiative. So I will answer the 10 questions. Question number one: first system that you played. The first system I played in role playing games is Dungeons and Dragons. And I cannot remember, since it was the late 70s and very early 80s, if it was already advanced Dungeons and Dragons or not. Certainly, it was my first, when I was a young kid. I was probably around 9 or 10 years old, attempt to play that system. It was very simple, I should say very crude, but fun because of a lot of fantasies. And of course, I still remember these games where maybe they were not very realistic, but then it's fantasy, where uh, my first character, that's question number two: what was your first character? And I remember the first character I played was a thief. What I think was one of the character classes. And since I was a kid, of course, I played stupid, so you always wanted to do cause some mayhem, steal some stuff, and even if you should sometimes listen to what's happening. And I remember that we had to go and save. I cannot remember what it was, whether it was a princess or something, from the cave of an ogre, and of course I couldn't help but go and try to steal some valueless stuff, and of course I woke up the ogre, so it ended up in a big fight, which we of course won. We were really young kids, but it was the dungeon master was a bit older than us. But anyway, it was fun. So that answered first and second question. Third question is, what's your favorite system? Now, it's been a long time I've not played, but if I remember correctly, well, actually, I played that system in my early 20s. The best system I've ever played is, I think, Ars Magica. And for a middle age or kind of system, I found it to be very realistic, especially in combat. Or you could have a knight to fight 10 peasants. The peasants then have zero chance to survive, for example. And that system was very, very good. And also, all the magical approach was, I think, quite subtle. And anyway, that Ars Magica was a very, very, and I don't know if it still exists, but it was a very, very good uh, system. Question number four: my favorite character. What's your favorite character? I think one of the favorite characters I've ever played was uh, was a fighter in Dungeons and Dragons. Mind you, I've mostly been dungeon master, right? I've mostly organized. That's what I really liked, is to organize universes and play. But there's been a few very fun games, and there was a campaign lasting years, where my favorite character was a fighter, and he had a very good roll of dice, and he was going through a lot of adventures. I'm not going to bore you with them, but his demise was a thief again. And one of my friends, Cyril, played a thief and actually switched some potions within a laboratory of a wizard. And eventually, what happened was that um, he made me drink. He forced me to drink a potion for fun, for a joke, a potion of youth. And of course, not being too old, that character became back a kid. And even as a kid, as a fighter, I was still stronger than the thief. So actually, I slaughtered him. I killed him while being a kid. So I ended up from a character who was in his 20s to a character who was a young child, not even teenager. So that was the end of that character. But it was a good one. We had lots of fun and lots of adventures, a lot of wars. We had to manage armies of against armies of orcs. So it was funny. Least favorite character. Oh, there's so many. That's question number five. There's so many characters I didn't like to play, and mostly the interesting part is when you have a character that you don't like. Um, just in life, when people don't like themselves, you go into a destructive path, which sometimes is not interesting. So I always used to say to people that they really have to invest psychologically in their characters and find the things that are interesting. And if you don't like it, change it, because otherwise it's not very fun. Uh, number six, question number six, what was your favorite world? My favorite world, I'm hesitating between a cyberpunk style world, but no. My favorite world is the world of Traveler 2300, or as it was, the name was changed to 2300 AD, because it was some sort of hardcore science fiction, and there was a lot of science into that science fiction. And of course, the world where some of the nearest stars are around the solar system were colonized, and there were mostly colonization by France, believe it or not, which was, the scenario was quite fascinating, and it was a sort of 300 years after World War III. And actually, France ended up after World War III as one of the strongest power in the world, which was it's an interesting twist of history, unlikely today, but at the time could have been something interesting that France could have played if things were going that way. China, even Texas, and Azania, Southern Africa. Anyway, very interesting system, very interesting aliens. Not like Star Wars kind of aliens, but not like space opera, but very, very scientific. I found, and very interesting. I really like to play that world. Question number seven. My favorite dice. I never really thought of that. Aesthetically, I have to like the four-sided dice, so the pyramid. Of course, the 12-sided and 20-sided dice are also aesthetically very, very nice. Number 8, did you play miniatures? Well, yes and no. When I was a kid, even before role-playing games, I started with toy soldiers. Toy soldiers from Britain's, the ones which had they were in plastic but with the metal base. And I played a lot Civil War, American Civil War, little soldiers. So they were the Confederate and the Union little soldiers. And less expensive were the Airfix. So I bought with my pocket money a lot of the Airfix. Now I thought at the time it was a lot. I still have them, and I gave them to one of my sons who doesn't care. But the box is this big. There were not a lot. There were maybe 50. Anyway, and I played countless battles and assaults of Germans against English, and Japanese, and Italians, and Russians, and all that. And in role-playing games, I always found that miniatures were useless. Why would you spend something to buy some small miniatures and paint them? Unless it's your passion to paint these miniatures. For me, it was a fucking waste of time. And even to play and to put in some paper, first of all, imagination was enough. If someone was saying, well, I'm first, he's first, I don't need to have these miniatures on a piece of on the board or on the table to know what's happening. However, sometimes situations can be so complex, and yes, you do have floor plans because you try to explain to them, no, you're in that room, not the other room, so that you actually need something. But usually, dices can suffice, and actually, I use the little bricks, the 4x2 thick Lego bricks, to put characters, and we would take some of different colors, and I don't know. The blacks were the orcs, and one guy had a red, she had a white, and he had, and that was it. And we didn't need too many artifices, and I didn't like to spend a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of money to start with into miniatures of that. Some people have magnificent and incredibly painted and incredibly diverse and so many miniatures. I don't know what the state is today. I've not played for at least 15 years, but that's certainly interesting. And I also never played, not miniature, but maxiatures. I never played full-scale role-playing games. 9, worst critical glitch. I think it was in a game of Shadowrun, which we used to play Shadowrun without the fantastical stuff. We took away all the magic, all the fantasy stuff out of Shadowrun, and we basically turned it into cyberpunk. Clearly, it was hardcore cyberpunk, hardcore mercenary into corporate, sort of Blade Runner kind of universe. And I remember that at some point you have to uh, how you can say, to break some explosive up. I mean, to dismantle a bomb, sort of. And I cannot find the English word for that suddenly. But I remember that when you have like 40% to dismantle the bomb, and you actually roll a 0-1 sort of fumble, and then you have to try to see how serious it is, and you roll again a 0-1. You have this moment of, oh shit, and of course you die, which is interesting. I have many others. I mean, there are fumbles in Cthulhu where you completely screw up the protection spell in front of some horrible creatures that are going to eat your soul and your body, which I remember had were interesting moments. And it's like when you have this alien coming in to chew, and you're like, haha, and you have your gun, and you put the gun on the head of the alien just before he's going to kill you, and you go, and it goes click. That kind of oh shit moment. A lot of fun, and even sometimes in role-playing games, having your character die is fun. Um, Number 10, best success role and critical. I have two that I remember. One was to throw five, I think it was D12, five, no, five D10, five dices, 10-sided dices. And I cannot remember what was the point or what was the statistic, but I remember that they all were 100. So I had like one chance out of millions to end up with 5 zeros. And I still have the picture because that was so exceptional. I said, stop, everyone stops. I went to take my camera, it was big cameras at the time, and make a picture. And I still have this picture. I should post it here. I need to find it. I don't know where it is, but I have this picture and some paper. At the time, we didn't have electronic format. We just, I printed that picture, but it was something. So I will find it. I think I know where it is. And but I have a second one which was more relative to something I can remember. We used to play Oriental Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which was a very good system as well. Really enjoyed. And I remember having playing a samurai in leading a group of Linus, if you see this, leading group of warriors and thieves to find the quest for my daimyo, which asked me to recover some of his armor that was stolen by a tengu, mythical creature. And I remember that we were facing an incredibly strong ogre. And in that game, the Oriental ogres were much, much stronger than the ones you would find in other role-playing games. And it was also like the Cyclops of that that Odysseus would face. And I remember that I had, of course, as a samurai, you were very good with the bow. It's not just the sword; it's the bow and the long bow. And I had these very large moon-shaped arrowheads on some arrows, and I had, and we were expecting this incredible fight with this ogre, and of course I took the bow, and I said I'm going to launch in very rapid succession two bows and try to hit the knees of that ogre, so that maybe I can cut the knees or cut the tendons so that he would fall down and we have avoided the fight. Because we were a bit outnumbered and weak. We were already blunted and bleeding from another fight. And of course, on both, I rolled 20 on a 20. And I think the subsequent roll of precision was even also very good. And of course, it succeeded. So that very long fight that we expected ended up incredibly short. And the Oriental ogre are animals or creatures with intelligence. So then we negotiated something instead of fighting. So it was fun. It was very interesting. Question number 11. What's your favorite class or type of character? Difficult to say because I always like the challenge of the psychology of the character, linked with its physical and mental abilities. Role-playing game is not to play what you want, is to play what a character should play. It's like a theater. You go into the skin and mind of someone else that you obviously create a bit, or that the master or the organizer of the game plays. In fantasy, or even in science fiction games, I always liked the, the lone warrior that can become a strategist. And of course, that's because I consider myself a bit of a strategist. So that's it. Number 12, the least favorite. Well, I did play some wizards. Wizards, actually, no, clerics is even worse. These weird spells and not spilling blood and yet using maces. I mean, anyone who fought with a mace at least once knows how bloody it can be. Yeah, weird. But certainly, the type of character that I really always hated both to play and to face was dwarves. I don't know why. I hate dwarves. Even when I saw the latest movie on the Hobbit, all these dwarves, I mean, just kill them all. I rooted for Smog, for sure. Smaug. Question number 13. One play system that you never played and that you would like to. I'm not sure. I think I never played GURPS. It was the General Universe role playing. I never played that one. I've been told it was good, but I never did. Now, will I ever play? Probably not. Question number 14. If you would consider yourself as a character, well, I don't have to sink into role playing. I can go into history. If I want to see myself as a character, I would see that. Of course, I'm looking high as General Cincinnatus in Roman history. Cincinnatus was a Roman fighter, therefore legionnaire, centurion, and leader of the armies. And he retired in his farm to take care of his land and I guess his people. And when Rome had another war, I cannot remember which one it was, he was recalled, and actually he fought and won that war. And it was in the early Roman Republic. And of course, what they were so grateful that he won this difficult war that Roman Senate asked him to become a king. And he rejected that and said, no, I have more important things to do, which is to go back to my farm, to my land, and to my people. So, in role-playing terms, could that be warrior peasant? Maybe. So these are my answers as a former, and one day I will, who knows again, role player. And my challenge is to Linus Joyeux. Take care. Ciao.